They are proposing some new rule changes in baseball, and I just thought we'd give you a call and get your reaction to a couple of them. There are a couple of them that I really like. I think would really, really be cool. Almost all of these, by the way, is to reduce the amount of time for a baseball game. And the one that kind of stood out in my mind that I thought was really neat was the fact that when you bring in a relief pitcher, he has to face 3 batters before you can come out and take him out. What do you think about that?
I hate it. I don't get it. I think matchups are part of it. I mean, I get why they want to do it, but I just think that goes against everything that you really think about as far as baseball. You get lefty matchups, righty matchups. I think that's going a little bit too far for me. But,
I mean, sometimes they come out just and, throw a couple of pitches, and that's it. And they bring them out. But, okay. Well, designated hitter, of course, they've been talking about this for a long time, whether or not the National League should bring that up. And apparently there's some talk about it. Looks like there may be a possibility a little bit later on down the line.
I've always said I don't care what they do. They just got to get uniform in the 2 leagues. I mean, can you imagine if we talked about, in this Super Bowl we're playing by AFC rules, whatever that would be, right? I mean, it doesn't seem strange in the World Series you play by different rules. I mean, and it really affects the game, right?
Yeah, World Series and also All-Star Game. They got to alternate the rules too, don't they?
Yeah, it's just at some point we got to do away with. We got to figure out if they want to go pitchers hit. Okay, I'm cool with it. I don't think the players' union's going to let that happen. I really think they need to get to the universal designated hitter. I think that's about 30 years overdue.
But they say that they're talking about it. Unions coming around on it. But they said they're not going to do it till at least 2022, and that's when their new bargaining agreement is coming out.
Oh, interesting.
So it might be there. Pitch clocks, never really been too crazy about them. How about you?
Dick.
Yeah.
I go back to what Bucky Berger always said. One of the most beautiful things about that baseball, there's no clock. I like that.
Mound visits without pitching changes. They're looking at reducing them. Looks like 6 right now, and they may, by 2020, reduce that down to as little as 3.
I think kind of breaking up the monotony, everything, it's just part of the game. I think they're trying to, listen, the way that they're going to speed up the game is to open up the strike zone to either have a guy strike out, which they're doing a lot of right now, or hit the ball and put it into play. That's what there is to it. I mean, the worst thing is a slow pitcher and a guy who's going to sit there and the most boring play in baseball, and then it relates to a pitcher throwing to first base, which might be the second most boring play in baseball, is a walk, right? I mean, walks are, as much as they're good statistically for your team and how they can maybe really help to get your guy home, it is the worst play in baseball because that is what slows down. A small strike zone is what Tom Kelly has said it for years. The small strike zone is what makes the games go by. And go down swinging or go and put the ball in play. They throw it to first or you get a base hit. That's what makes the game exciting. And it just drives me crazy. It's so simple. I've heard it from Tom Kelly 100 times, both in person and back on the show Sunday mornings before the sports huddle. He said it all the time. It's not that complicated. I don't know why they can't figure that out.
Yeah. Trade deadline. They have various trade deadlines throughout the season, and they say they want to put all the deadlines together same day.
It should be. I think it should be about August 15th in both of them. No more waiver to wire trade deadlines. I like that.
Looks like one of the proposals was July 31st, and August 31st. So they've got two different proposals from the union and also from the owners.
Well, that's kind of what they got now, though. I mean, July 31st is a non-waiver wire trade deadline. August 31st is the waiver wire trade deadline. I think if they just went, let's meet halfway, just do all trade deadlines are August 31st, then it could be, or I should say 15th, then we're done with it. You know what I'm getting at?
I see. I may have read that wrong. It's a rather lengthy article there about that.
And I don't know how they're explaining it either, is that, maybe they're proposing it, but that's the way they got to do it, I think. I do think it's hard to really know if you're buyers or sellers with the non-waiver trade going by July 31st, right? I mean, you can be 5 games out and all of a sudden get hot. Like the Twins did, I think, with 8 games out a few years ago. Remember that? Just a couple of years ago, I think they went on the West Coast swing. They traded away, Kinsler and a bunch of these guys, and before you knew it, Brian Dozier and those guys got kicked off, and they won the wild card, the second wild card spot. So it'll be interesting to see where that does go. But I like August 15th as kind of a median point there.
Here's an interesting one, and I think I know what you're gonna say. Starting a runner at second base when we go into extra innings.
Oh, it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
They say they wouldn't start that till the 11th. Apparently, they said we'll let the 10th go by as normal. That's crazy.
That makes my head hurt.
I mean, that reminds me of my playing in cadet league back when I was like 10 years old. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just too hokey for me. I'm sorry. I understand some of these extra inning games go a long time, but oh my goodness! I mean, honestly, I almost rather have a tie than do that.
And another one here that I thought was interesting too. They want to. They're discussing that during the breaks, that the breaks be shortened up in between half innings. And they know that it has a lot to do with commercial time for broadcast, but they say that they want to do split screens on television so they can start the game and play the commercial at the same time.
Well, that'd be interesting for our world, wouldn't it? Especially radio, because we don't have screens when it comes to Corey Provis and stuff. I mean, we're 90-second breaks, right?
That's very true.
So that would it would certainly be an interesting thing for our world, how that would go. I mean, I do feel, though, 90 seconds is pretty good if they're able to do that. I mean, 90 seconds, the thing is, don't you agree? 90 seconds in between should be enough, right?
I would think so.
Go to break and then you go. I mean, that's not an eternity by any means. I think the way they have it's fun, but I can see what they want to do there. The longest inning, is the seventh inning stretch, especially on Sundays. So that's one thing I know they kind of do a split screen with that already.
And one more here I'll throw out at you. Looks like they're studying about lowering the pitcher's mound again. I guess I don't know the dynamics as much. I know that when they lowered it the last time, they did it in order to find out to get more offense, right?
Yeah, always got to be a thing to get more offense, isn't it? It's just amazing. How about hitting the ball? Not swinging for the fence every time. There's an idea. Listen. I mean, what? Goodness gracious! And that's it's fine where it's at. I mean, that's the thing is for whether these guys I talk about analytics, they can give you numbers all you want, but I just have a hard time believing that. Someone like Rod Crew, who you listened to just the Twins Fest a couple of weeks ago on the Sports Cell, he doesn't look at the numbers so much. His numbers are pretty good, right? And Ted Williams just said you should try to hit more home runs. He still let my batting average drop about 90 points.
There's one.
It's not that complicated. I think you just got to put the ball in play.
We got about 90 seconds here. One more quick one here. They're looking at an anti-tanking rule. Now, I'm not quite sure how they would decide whether a team is trying to tank or not in order to get a better draft pick, but they say that if it happens, that they can drop their draft pick, their first draft pick, by 15 slots and then lose $2 million in international signing bonus pool allocation.
How many baseball teams are really tanking? When you get the 40-man call-up, what you're doing is trying to try these kids out, right? I mean, it's different in basketball where they're actually obviously taking it matters that much. You don't know for sure if a first-round pick's going to work. I think what baseball managers and organizations are doing is giving these AAA kids a chance. I think that how do you judge who's tanking? That's a really interesting judgment call there.
Yeah, and they say that if you lose 90 games for more than 3 years, in each of those 3 years, go down 20 slots and lose $3 million. Again, that's going to,
wow.
You say, how do you judge that, And also they're thinking about dropping the roster down, too, from the 40-man to 28. But we can talk more about that later when you get back.
What?
Yeah, they're looking at that as well. It's nuts.
Well, that's weird. Well, as many injuries you have, that's to make it complicated. Holy cow.
Hopefully, most of them they'll think a little harder on.
Let's just get baseball started, okay? That's what we...
Amen on that, brother. We got basketball coming up next. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
You bet. See you tomorrow.
Derek Hanson talk a little baseball with us.